The slap cracked across Seanchai's face and snapped his head to the side. His skin burnt and his eyes filled with tears. He focused all his strength to hold them back. He had accompanied his rescuers deep into the woods. Seanchai bathed in their awe. He assumed it was because of his bravery and prowess, but he chose not to dwell on the fact that he had killed people. He tried to put such thoughts out of his mind by looking at the trees. They were bigger and older than those in Morphean Wood, where he had grown up. Those had gnarled trunks and branches. This was the Kurdistan forest, and had been around since the age of fairy. Now, in the rebel camp, Seanchai was no longer basking in awe, but instead stood before a huge elf with a very bad temper.
As long as you are with my people, you will never disobey one of my orders again, ever.
The elf roared.
Whether it comes straight from me or through someone else, you will obey it as law. I don't care who you are. You put good elves and men at risk. What you did was stupid and impulsive.
Seanchai took a deep breath.
Look, I'm sorry I put others in danger, but Rodan is my friend, and... His voice trailed off.
His voice trailed off as he saw the veins of the huge elf's neck begin to throb.
How should I address you?
Call me uncle.
You're my uncle?
Seanchai arched his eyebrows, seeing no resemblance between this elf and his mild-mannered, loving father. This question was met with laughter.
Sure, if that works for you.
Replied a smirking uncle.
But uncle is my title. It goes unnoticed in the ears of our enemies.
Seanchai stood as tall as he could and willed himself not to look away.
Well, if we have finished, uncle, I would like to go and see how my friend is doing.
After a long pause, uncle cleared his throat.
Your guide?
He corrected venomously.
Sure, you may go to him. We will speak again after dinner. Ilana, please escort him to the healer.
An elfe, approximately Seanchai's age, approached. She was shorter than him, with dark and shiny hair held away from her face by a plain, leather-braided thong. She averted his eyes and signaled him to follow her.
Thank you,
said Seanchai.
I appreciate you taking...
Uncle told me to.
She interjected. Yes,
Seanchai stopped talking and surveyed the thick perimeter of trees around the camp. It made him think of the forest that surrounded his village. Thoughts of his parents slipped in. What had happened to them? He shuddered. He might never find out, and perhaps that would be for the best. You shivered.
Ilana said, her voice now softer.
Do you require a cloak?
I was thinking of my parents.
Seanchai lowered his head, regretting the admission. I'm sorry. Many of us have lost parents, siblings, and friends. My mother...
Her voice shook, and she took a deep breath.
It never gets any easier. The healer's area is there, beyond the fronds.
Her voice was warm now, and Seanchai regretted that they were about to part. Why so far away from everyone else?
If we need to hide, the wounded cannot give us away.
That's kind of callous.
Seanchai impulsively remarked, immediately cringing at the slip. Survival is callous?
She snapped.
We do what we can for them. We collect herbs and provide them with whatever the healer requests, but we cannot help them if we are dead and they can't run away. And the healer, by the way, is an elfe.
Seanchai stopped, sighed, and rubbed his forehead with his hand. I'm sorry. I seem to be saying all the wrong things. Everything is happening so quickly and it's all just confusing. A few days ago, I was just an innocent cowhide, playing and studying in my village. I was about to begin my apprenticeship as a healer. Now look at me, at what I did. I don't understand what's happening, what I'm doing, or even who I am. I don't know what I should be saying, and, well...
His voice quivered and became a whisper.
I understand why you have no patience for me.
Ilana,
go ahead.
Ilana turned to face him. She started to reach out, but changed her mind and withdrew her hand. Instead, she smiled and looked at him in the eyes for the first time. It's not about patience,
she said softly.
You scare me. You scare us.
She turned and left Seanchai by the entrance to the healer's area. He watched her go before he entered the hut. Rodan lay on a bed of straw off to the side. His face was covered with thick green leaves. Seanchai identified as comfrey, a herb that helped reduce inflammation and bruises. Seanchai leaned over his friend, who was awake but struggling to open swollen eyes. He put a hand on Rodan's shoulders. How are you, my friend? You look rather dashing.
Rodan's attempted smile became a wince. His voice was weak and hoarse. They say you came back for me, that you took down a half-dozen soldiers.
Seanchai shook his head. They exaggerate.
But you came back for me?
Yes, I did.
Then you're a fool. I should have died protecting you.
Your gratitude is overwhelming.
Seanchai half smiled, but Rodan shook his head, causing himself more pain. No, no.
His voice was slightly louder now, in a rasping whisper.
You're the important one. It was wrong. They should have stopped you.
They tried, but I can be very persuasive.
Stubborn, you mean? You were wrong to come back for me. Why did you do it?
Seanchai felt his frustration rising. Because you would have done the same for me. Because maybe your father and others paid for my safety with their lives. That's what we do for our friends.
No.
Rodan panted.
I am not your friend. I am your guide. That's what I was assigned to be.
Seanchai snapped back. They can choose my guides and protectors. They can't choose my friends. I want you as my friend, Rodan, and I'd like to be yours.
He took a deep breath to calm himself and put his hand back on Rodan's shoulder.
Now get some rest. I'm sure I can find someone else to tell me off. In fact, I'm supposed to meet with his uncle after we eat.
Seanchai rubbed his still sensitive cheek.
I'm hoping he'll use words to express himself this time.
Rodan allowed a small smile. Ask him to slap you once as a favor to your new friend.
Seanchai grinned and stood up. I'll look in after I meet with him.
As he turned to leave, Rodan said, They say you felled soldiers with a word and a brilliant red light. What was this power?
Seanchai turned back. His face creased, and he felt his chest tighten. I don't know, Rodan. It was both awesome and frightening, but I need to find out what it was and who I am.